NIL versus the NFL. Man, this is a topic I've been seeing a lot lately. Well, now that my junior year is completed, it's finally time for me to figure out what my next move is going to be. And I need your help. There's a lot of key factors we got to take into consideration while making this decision. Of course, for most of you, the first thing that comes to mind is money. And that's okay. I mean, money is important. However, you also got to remember the average span for an NFL running back is only 2.5 years. But listen, we're going to get into all that a little later. First, we got a very important meeting to get ready for. WME Sports, one of the largest talent agencies in the world. Their list of clients is massive. I mean, they represent huge names like Venus and Serena, Joel Embiid, Matt Damon, Marlon Humphreys, Ben Affleck, just to name a few. Well, listen, man, they flew me out to LA and put me up in this nice Airbnb, all so we can meet and discuss what they could potentially do for my career if I decide to turn pro. I made it clear that I still hadn't made my decision, but they insisted that I at least come out and hear their pitch, so we're about to get dressed and head over there.
Alright, so now that we've gotten to know one another a little bit, why don't you tell us exactly what you're looking for out of this potential partnership?
Well, honesty and integrity for starters, but I mean, after all that, I really want to focus on building a brand. As we've already talked about, now is probably the worst time in the history of the league to be a running back. So I definitely want to focus on securing deals and endorsements outside of the game of football. I mean, as we both know, injuries are inevitable, so I want to make sure that I'm still in position to take care of my family once my playing days are over.
Hey man, those are some very understandable concerns. One injury can completely derail an entire career. I mean, we've seen it happen many of times. And unfortunately, some of those guys didn't have a team that'll fight as hard as we will.
So this is what it feels like, huh? Yeah, this must be what it feels like to have all your hard work pay off. Shit, if I'm being real, this is my first time ever really fully dedicating myself to something. And honestly, I don't even feel like I deserve it. I mean, the money, the fame, the accolades, all that don't mean nothing to me. And it's probably because this was never supposed to be my life in the first place. Alright, so look, I know y'all been waiting to hear about all the guys. And if I'm being honest, I kind of been trying to avoid this conversation. Well, today, we're going to talk about my main man, Dre. See, this dude was my brother. When I moved to Chicago from Champaign, he was the first one to embrace me and show me love. My guy was a true comedian. I mean, it was impossible to be mad around this dude because he never took nothing serious. Not only that, he was smart as hell too. Let bro tell you he was a borderline genius. Dre loved football. I mean, that's all he talked about. If he wasn't with us kicking it on the block, then he was doing just that, playing football. Well, that's until he found out he had a baby on the way. Yeah, that's when everything changed. Bro had to put the football down and pick the broom up. He got him a little part-time job at Walmart. Man, I still remember the day we almost got him fired for riding bikes through the store. But that was back when they was open 24 hours. Even though bro had to take a break from sports to stack up some bread, his football dream stayed alive. I remember he would always say that he was going to make it to the league and bring all the guys there with him. Well, me on the other hand, I was fully committed to the streets. I was always looking for the next scheme, always looking for the next come up. Well, my greed and ego ended up costing me in a way I could have never imagined. Me and one of the guys set up this play to buy some lean, but whole time we was really plotting on robbing his Goofy for his pipe. As soon as he got there, it wasn't no talking. I held dude at gunpoint while folks beat him. We took everything he had and got on. Me, Dre, Montana, and a few of the other guys were supposed to meet later on that night after Dre got off work. So I went back to the crib and got on the game until it was time to link. Well, reports say around 10:30 p.m., a dark colored sedan let off several shots, striking and killing Dre a few feet away from the bus stop. Out of everybody that I lost, Dre's death affected me the most. Not only was it my fault the bro was dead, but he didn't even know why he died. I tried numbing the pain with prescription pills and a few other things, but nothing seemed to work. I knew if I was going to get any type of closure from this situation, I was going to have to go talk to my boy. Man, bro, I know you probably been wondering what took me so long to come and see you, but I still can't believe you gone. You know I miss you though. Your mom still miss you. I mean, everybody miss you. Some days I wake up in the morning and I call your cell phone like, man, let me call and see what bro on, but it just rang. No voicemail, no nothing. It just rang on me. It's like I still can't accept that you gone. Even on the day of your funeral, man, I woke up that morning like I know my boy gonna call. I know my homie gonna call, but you never did. Look, homie, I'm sorry, man. I messed up bad with this one. I know I messed up bad and it cost you your life. I should have been the one that got hit up that night. Not you, Dre. I should have been the one that's gone right now. You was doing everything right. You had dreams, you had goals, you had a son. Look, bro. Look, I'm gonna make this right for you, I promise. I don't know how, but I'm gonna make this right, bro. Dre's death kicked off a war in our section of the city, but myself and Montana, we had a vested interest because technically we were the ones responsible for all the bloodshed. At the time, I didn't have the heart or the courage to tell any of the other guys why Dre was really killed. I didn't even tell his family. Everyone thought it was just a gang-related homicide, which only made the retaliation even worse. My grandparents knew exactly what type of time I was going to be on, so before everything kicked off, they set me down to try to talk some sense into me. Out of respect for them, I acted as if I was listening to what was being said, but whole time my mind was on revenge. Now, I can't say too much about what happened on this platform, but just know, me and Montana made sure a couple people knew exactly how much Dre was loved. Shortly thereafter, I got locked up for a probation violation. Then I was sent to Chapel Hill in North Carolina to finish high school. The meeting with WME went great. I love their pitch, and I honestly think there's a potential for a future working relationship. But look, the last time we spoke, I was faced with a huge dilemma. Stay at Alabama for my junior year or pack my bags and jump into the transfer portal. Well, I'm sure by now most of you already know what decision I made, but for those of you that don't, let's get into it.
That's a huge bitch.
Once Coach Saban announced his retirement, we literally lost half our team to the transfer portal. I mean, key guys were jumping in the portal left and right, and honestly, I don't blame them. I got word that the new coach coming in would be Coach DeBoer. I was already familiar with him as he recruited me pretty heavy coming out of high school, so I was okay with that. But my main concern would be the new offensive coordinator, Coach Tommy Tough Knuckles. I didn't know much about the new OC, but the one thing I did know was he liked to use multiple running backs in his offense. So that meant my touches would probably be cut in half. This was a huge concern for me, so I pretty much had my mindset on transferring. Well, that's when my backup, Jan Miller, pulled me aside to have a conversation in the cafeteria one day.
Listen, bro, don't transfer, because all the main pieces is still here. Look, I know you're concerned about sharing your touches, but look at it like this. You will be in the NFL soon, so you need to preserve your body. All I'm doing is taking a load off your shoulders.
I mean, if I'm being real, bro was right. Not only am I a national champion, but I also won the Heisman, for crying out loud. I was a lock for the NFL, and my junior year was nothing more than a technicality. I still wanted to weigh out all my options though, so I spent some time just searching around seeing if maybe I could find a better fit. Once I finally made up my mind, I reached out to my granny for a little reassurance.
Well, baby, you know I support you no matter what. This seems to be the best option right now, so, I mean, I don't think there's anything else to ponder on. I agree with, the action that you're taking. You just gotta stand firm on your beliefs and, stay prayed up, but this is what's best right now.
I'd start my junior year off in a Chick-fil-A kickoff game versus the West Virginia Volunteers, and as you can see, I was still draped in that beautiful crimson from head to toe. Yeah, after weighing out all my options, I decided to stay put at Alabama for another year. Although we lost a lot of important coaches and players on both sides of the ball, the key pieces to our offense were still there and ready to make another run at a championship title. Now, I came into the season 100% healthy and more focused than ever, so I picked up right where I left off the year before, making split-second reads and carving the defense up with my speed and agility. My guy Jalen Milroe was back, and he was on the same type of time as we steamrolled the West Virginia defense and took home the victory in our season opener. Our second game of the season, we'd be at home taking on Florida Atlantic. It definitely felt like the schedule makers were on our side because normally we start off the season with a huge test our first or second game. Well, this year they definitely showed us some love by giving us some weaker opponents early on. Yeah, although we were still that Alabama powerhouse, a lot of changes had been made in our program and we still needed a little bit of time to work out a few kinks. We jumped out to a 14-0 lead and then Jalen followed up his huge bomb with a quarterback keeper for a touchdown. Not to be outdone, on the very next drive, I scored the leaping touchdown over the Florida Atlantic defense, and that would complete my day as we take the easy victory in our first home game of the season. Coming out versus this FBS school, man, we were surprisingly focused and locked in. Y'all know normally when you have an opponent like this, you can tend to overlook them. Well, all week during our meetings and film, the guys seem to be taking this game extremely serious. As a matter of fact, thinking back, I remember feeling confident in our offense and honestly our team as a whole. Now, I'm not saying I felt like we were already championship favorites, but I did truly feel if we kept playing at such a high level, we'd be right back in that conversation. The time had finally come for our first big test of the season. And when I tell y'all this game went all the way down to the wire, bruh, I mean just that. Ole Miss always shows up to play. Yeah, they always looking to pull off the huge upset over Bama. So I made sure that all the players that transferred here when Coach Saban left knew just how important this game was. But look, y'all know I like to lead by example, so my first touchdown of the game came after I completely ran through the Ole Miss cornerback for 6. Now, I don't know what was going on with our defense as they gave up back-to-back touchdowns on back-to-back drives, but just like Coach DeBoer always say, man, just focus on doing your job and everything else will take care of itself. But look, it would be in this game that I realized that maybe the multiple halfback offense that Coach Tommy Tough Knuckles likes to run wouldn't be a good fit. I mean, we were down by 11 right outside the red zone, but I would be on the sideline watching for 3 consecutive failed plays where we end up settling for a field goal. Then on the very next drive, we reached the red zone again, and I picked up a very clutch first down, only to be taken out the game again and watch my backup Jan Miller score a 7-yard touchdown, bringing us to within 3 points to tie in the game. With only a minute left in the game, the score tied at 21, it was time for players to make plays. Jalen Milroe threw a 27-yard dagger, putting us right outside the end zone. Then the ball was put into my hands as I fought to get the game-winning touchdown over Ole Miss, improving our record to 4-0 on the season. Ooh-wee! We finally reached that point of the season where every team is a threat. Our next game, we'd be on the road taking on the number 24th ranked Texas A&M Aggies. Now, they had already lost 2 games this season, but they were still ranked 24th. Ain't that crazy, G? Anyways, I came out and sent a message early, striking first with a 57-yard touchdown, and they countered back with the score of their own. Now, we were Hoover stomping our way up the field until my guy Jalen Milroe threw an interception, resulting in a Texas A&M touchdown. Jumping ahead to the fourth quarter, still down by 7, Jalen reached into his bag and completed 2 massive passes to move us down the field. Then it was finally my turn to get in on some of the action. I would take a counter to the right side of the field and lower my pass to pick up the very tough first down. With 50 seconds left on 1st and goal, my guy Jalen stepped up yet again, throwing an absolute dagger to the back of the end zone for a touchdown. But we left way too much time on the clock, and Texas A&M would go on to win by a field goal, handing us our first loss of the season. 2-3 Kentucky would be next on our schedule, and we'd be back at home. That loss to the Aggies dropped us down to the number 9th ranked team in the country. Man, it's just something about those close losses that hurt the most. I don't know about y'all, but I'd rather get my back blown out than lose a close game like that. Anyways, I was still having a tough time adjusting to the new offense, mainly because I was on the sideline most of the time watching. I noticed it always seemed to be once we reached the red zone. I guess my main concern was I didn't want the narrative to get out there that I couldn't perform in the red zone or that I couldn't make plays without having a lot of space. The team seemed to be pretty sluggish and out of sync. This would normally be the time that Coach Saban pulled everybody together and gave us a good talking to, but that never happened. Now, I try not to make too much out of tough, close games versus weaker opponents, but it was during that game versus Kentucky that I knew we definitely weren't a championship caliber team. And to make matters worse, I would go down with a very painful injury midway through the second quarter and be sidelined for the remainder of the game. Luckily, my guys were able to come together and pull off a very tough victory at home. Now, I wish I could say that this was our worst game of the season, but unfortunately, that wouldn't be true. Now, we were approaching the midway mark of the season, and I decided to check the standings for the Heisman. I was surprised to see that the list was made up of all running backs, and I was ranked number 2. Now, of course, this didn't really matter because we still had a whole nother half of the season left, but seeing that gave me a little bit of added motivation that I would go on to use when things got tough later down the road. Arkansas would be our next opponent on the schedule. Now, regardless of their record, they always come to play and normally put up a pretty good fight. Coming into this season, I was extremely concerned about our offensive line, only because they were impacted the most by the transfer portal. But I have to give them credit. Up until that point of the season, they had been doing a tremendous job creating holes for me to run through and keeping the pocket clean for Jalen. We would drive all the way down the field, but pick up an unnecessary clipping penalty, which would cause us to have to settle for a field goal. Towards the beginning of the second quarter, Jalen would take over the game. He couldn't have stepped up at a better time because we were definitely in need of a spark. Our defense had done their job and held the Razorbacks to only 3 points, so it was time for us to do ours. But just like it's been all season, as soon as we reached that red zone, I'd be on the sideline watching. Luckily, this time the guys were able to capitalize and score a touchdown, giving us the lead. Now, I have trouble even watching this next play because it hurts so bad. We were all tied up in the fourth quarter when I would commit the only fumble in my 3-year career here at Bama. Not only did I fumble the ball, but the Razorbacks defense took it back for a touchdown. Then to make things even worse, I had 2 chances on the next drive to pick up first downs, but got stopped short each time. Listen, bro, that's when I realized how ruthless fans could be. My DMs were filled with death threats and people talking about I messed up their parlays. We went on to lose our second game of the season, and it came at the hands of me. No pun intended. The rivalry game that we look forward to all season was next up, and as you can see, tensions were at an all-time high. Look at the way the Tennessee defender tackles me not once but twice. I didn't even have the ball, and the refs didn't call nothing. But hey, just like I did for Dre, I got it back in blood. The next play was one of the best plays of my college career. Just when it looked like my back was against the wall, I found my way out. But look though, I still wasn't done beating in the back of the defense. I didn't care if we was at their house or not. I wasn't tolerating any disrespect. Look, I stood on business all game and had my way with them boys. I finished with over 280 yards on just 20 attempts and 3 touchdowns. My performance in those last 2 games moved me up to the #1 spot in the Heisman race. Even though our team hadn't been playing the best and we probably wouldn't be competing for a championship, I still refused to take my foot off that gas. Down at home early versus Mississippi State, the offense was in need of a spark. We hadn't scored all game and it was already the end of the first quarter. I think up until that point I had only been given a ball 3 times and I only had like 8 yards, so y'all know I needed to make my presence felt. Jalen found Isaiah Bond for a huge 38-yard pass, then I would be given a ball on a draw play to the strong side of the field, break a tackle and score a diving 21-yard touchdown, tying the game. On the next drive, I came out with that same energy. I really ran the ball like my life depended on it. I was able to pick up a few key first downs, and then of course I would go take my position on the sideline as soon as we got into the red zone. You know what? Until this day, I'm still confused as to why my backup Jam wanted me to stay here at Bama. If I was to leave, he would have my starting spot. So what was his motive? Did he know with me here we'd have the best chance to win another championship? Or did he know he'd get all the red zone touches? I don't know, man. Y'all comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Anyways, we went on to pull away and get the victory at home over Mississippi State, but it was in this game that I broke the school's single season rushing record, which is huge considering all the great running backs that's come through this university. Y'all remember a few minutes ago after the Kentucky game when I said this wouldn't be our worst game of the season? Well, I wasn't lying. Our performance versus Ohio left a lot to be desired for. I don't know what it was, but we just couldn't get up for this game. Nah, I'm lying, man. I know exactly what it was. We really didn't have much to play for. Now, of course, we were still eligible for a bowl game, but things are a little bit different here at Alabama. The standard isn't a bowl game. No, the standard is a championship game. That's what we play for. So if that's off the table, then things start to seem pointless. Well, to me at least. Look, the same way I took responsibility for fumbling and costing us the game in Arkansas, Jalen, you my dog, but you for sure almost lost us the game versus Ohio. I don't know what bro was on before the game, but man, he was playing horrible. Luckily, he got back right before things got too far out of hand and we were able to turn things around. The final score was like 17-10. I think it's safe to say at that point we had all mentally checked out. The final game of the season and what could potentially be the final game of my college career came at home in the rain versus our rivals Auburn. This game started off in literally the worst possible way as Jalen threw a pick 6 on his very first pass. And then on the next drive, this dude dropped back in the pocket and took a 13-yard sack. Listen, bro, I thought I had it bad when I fumbled versus Arkansas, but y'all should have seen this dude's DMs after the game. They wanted Buddy's head. But just like old times when things started to get ugly, I stepped up and pulled off yet another crazy run when we needed it the most, tying the game up at 7. Of course, Auburn wasn't backing down. They took the ball the full length of the field to go back up by 7. Y'all should know I wasn't ducking no smoke. I came right back out on the next possession and almost made another house call. Look, I've played in a lot of crazy games since I've been here, but I honestly think this might have been the craziest one. The crowd was so loud I could barely even think. But look, just as I started to get warmed up, the unthinkable happened. I took a huge bone-crushing hit by 2 Auburn defenders that caused me to miss the remainder of the game. But even without me in the game, we still had a chance to win. Down 4 points with 12 seconds left, Jalen makes the worst possible pass. Instead of throwing the ball away, he threw it directly into the hands of the defense. Man, we had to stand there and watch this man take an interception back for a touchdown to end the game. So unfortunately, my junior season didn't end up going as expected. We didn't make the national championship game and I came in second place in the Heisman voting. I took a risk by making the decision to stay at Alabama and play under a new coach in a new system. But hey, it is what it is. Now I have an even bigger decision to make. Should I forego the NFL and try to win another Heisman or national championship? Or should I hire an agent and enter my name into the draft? Man, y'all let me know what my next move should be down below.